Hi, everybody. This is Giovanna Franklin from Homeopathy Heals, and I'm very excited to have here Dr. Andreas Tilch. And why do I have him here? Because he is the discoverer of this new strep nosode, which is named after him, quite aptly, the strep nosode. Tilch. And first of all, thank you so much for being here. And for those who don't know you yet, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you've been doing?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Giovanna, for asking me for this interview. I'm very excited, and thank you, everybody who is listening. So I can introduce myself. I'm a homeopathic doctor since in my own office now here in a little city in south of Germany, Freiburg. And since around 30 years in my own office. So that I started to learn about homeopathy is around 40 years now. So I've been a homeopath, really complete in homeopathy since many, many years. And it's just my passion to be a homeopathic doctor. And I have as in my office, I see many families, many patients. Also, since many years, I'm a home doctor and I treat them for so many years. And all of the generations, 3 or 4 generations of the whole family and their friends and their partners and their children and grandchildren. So I see many systems. You could say systems of living together. And I treat them for a very long time. And I have treated them with classical homeopathy since from the beginning for many years, 20, 30, 25 years, you could say. And since then, somehow by some fate or destiny, this remedy Streptococcinum came into my consciousness by my beloved teacher, Dr. J.S. Shah from Mumbai, India. And he came to Freiburg since 2006, and we became very close friends. And he, in one of his seminars in 2015, he mentioned that this nosode Streptococcinum, which was the old Streptococcinum, which was also produced by Helios, seemed to be a very important remedy for him because he had seen so many good results in patients with desperate situations, not recovering, falling sick again and again, an endless history of falling sick. And with these patients, especially for their throat and nose and ear issues and infections of the upper airways, there he could see very good results with Streptococcinum. It's just like his number one SOS remedy, he calls it, in case that there's an aggravation. First thing that he recommends is repeat the constitutional remedy, and when this doesn't work, the second remedy is Streptococcinum. So practically all of his patients at some point have taken this strep nosode, the old one. So that sounded interesting to me, and I thought, okay, I will buy this, I will order it from Helios and then see what happens. And then that was in 2015. Are you okay if I start straight away?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I could talk about my own person also, it's fine, but I think that what you're interested in this is this nosode. So my first really astonishing case arrived 4 weeks after this. I had received this remedy in my office. This was a really difficult case of rheumatoid problems, very acute problems coming up. And these problems had come up around 3 months after a strep infection of the throat. And I had treated this woman. She was a young woman, and she had a child with a very severe handicap. And then there was really deep anger and hatred against the husband, and she was separated with the father of that girl, and she was very much in a situation of swallowed down anger, you could say, and then at some point she had said, okay, I will next time when he does that again, and when he says these bad things again to me, I will go to court, and then I will and she was somehow with this revenge or this, I will defend myself, and I will be very, very strong against him next time, and he will see what happens. And in her case, that felt to me like this swallowed down anger had at some point made her brought her this rheumatoid problems, and also an issue of the lungs. She had also very flat breathing, very flat breath, and couldn't breathe properly. This was a sarcoidosis also of the lungs that had taken place at the same time. So she was in a wheelchair and couldn't, she had been in a wheelchair for some time and then taking painkillers, and then she could move, but she was in a very bad state. And after treating her with conventional homeopathic remedies, I had given her Natremure at first, because she was so much in this, I cannot, I feel mortification, and I'm so angry, and this swallowed down hurt feeling. But this Natremure didn't help very much. It had helped her to some extent in the past, but it was never just like really going through. It was at some point something was always remaining. It was not bad, that remedy, but at that point it didn't help at all. Yeah? And then after giving up Natremure, I changed to Apis, because there was a dream which was very clear and showed an Apis idea. Also the ways that her joints were swollen, it looked like Apis, but also this didn't help. And so I was also frustrated, and in a giving up. Well, probably you have to go to the university clinic, and they will give you just like strong rheumatoid, anti-inflammatory medication or whatever. But then I thought, okay, Jayesh, he has said that the Streptococcinum sometimes can be helpful as a nosode after strep infection, so I will give her, and I gave her the old strep nosode in 200C from Helios for 3 days. And then after these 3 days, she ameliorated so much, a lot. She was a lot better, and she could sleep better, she could reduce the painkillers, and she was and she found rest at night. Before, she couldn't find peace at night. She was so restless, and it was the pain was so bad, and she couldn't sleep. And then with that remedy, all of a sudden she started sleeping, and some calmness came into her being sick, and she somehow could just be with this disease, not being in a good state. And she found more peace. And this remedy straight away brought this peace into her sickness. And from then on, the whole thing disappeared completely. And it went, and for 3 weeks, I didn't even repeat that remedy. Then we repeated it. And then a little bit later, I gave the 1M. And she received a few doses in this first half year. And after that half a year, everything had disappeared. Also, the lungs were completely clear again. They did this X-ray. All of this autoimmune issue had completely gone.
Okay, and, so this is really, thank you very much for that. I wanted to go back a little bit, like from a medical point of view, how widespread is strep infection in general in a population? And also, can you have the strep virus dormant inside of you without symptoms?
Well, I would say this strep infection is just like very, very common infection in almost everybody. It's just like at least here in Germany, in every kindergarten, in every school, with little children, at some point there's a sign at the door, Streptococcus alert. So be careful if your child has throat problems, go and see the doctor. And so as soon as the Streptococcus alert is there, all the parents are very alarmed, and they want to make sure that their child shouldn't get this. So the fear of strep infection is quite strong here in the kindergarten. And I would say, to some extent, everybody has had contact with the Streptococcus at some point in his childhood. And when you ask people, many of them say, oh, well, I also had antibiotics as a child for tonsillitis, or I had antibiotics for strep ear infection, or I had these strep pimples and I received antibiotics for my nose, or often I was sick with infections of any kind, but also of strep infections. So it's just like very natural for humans to have strep infections at some point in their life. It's very, very common. Not everybody would get a really bad angina, but some of them only get a little bit of sore throat, and that's it. But I would say most of them will not have really bad disease. But to be in contact at some point of your life with Streptococcus, I think this is almost inevitable.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is that, for example, I've noticed since I started working as a homeopath in the US, a lot of women in pregnancy are tested routinely as a matter of routine for strep. And even if they don't have any symptoms at all, they're absolutely healthy, they will be given antibiotics. And this is something that seems to be at least peculiar to the US. They certainly don't do that in the UK. I had never heard of it. And so I was wondering, can you have strep in your body and maybe pass it on to your child?
They say that around 20% of the population has strep in their throat, but silent. It's just silent. It's there, and it's fine. It doesn't give you any problems. You wouldn't. Nobody would get sick from you, but you could pass it on. Of course, it's just like impossible to get it out of humanity. It's always there. You can give the antibiotics once that it occurs, but it's impossible to sterilize the world of Streptococcus. You will never get rid of them because they are there even if you don't notice them.
Yeah. Because this leads to the sort of universality of this nosode, because sometimes patients will say, oh, but my child never had strep infection, so why would I try this remedy? So this it was just like in preparation for later on to see how wide spread, wide spectrum this remedy is. So if you were using, so at this point you were still using the Helios strep.
Helios, The new is also Helios, but it's
yes. But at the time you were still on. So if that was working so well, what was the need? Who thought that we needed a different one, maybe a better one?
Well, that's from that point in 2015 until I found out that we need a better nosode. That was a process of 5 years. So it's just like in these 5 years, a lot of things have happened, and I've treated so many. In this first year, after seeing this one case, I have had 2 or 3 more patients with post-Streptococcus issues, joint pains or something, where I had given that old nosode also. But then, and at some point, 1 year later, I took it myself. I took that old nosode myself as I had a sore throat. And and it changed my life dramatically, but I was not aware of this. For the following 2 years were just so good. So many good things happened in my life, but I didn't think at all that this was somehow connected to having taken that streptococcinum in the 1M potency for a few days and repeating it at some point. It was, I was completely not aware how magically my life turned into a very, very positive direction. So these 2 years were almost no cases, you could say. And then there were, at some point, one patient came back who had really bad allergy problems. I had treated him for allergy problems, and he came back in 2018, and I had given him this remedy in 2016 in spring. And since in these 2 years I had not seen him for his allergies, but before he was there all the time complaining, and then he came back, and I asked him, "What about your allergies?" He came for something else. He came for a problem in his knee, and I asked him, "How about your allergies?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. Somehow it's disappeared. I didn't have any more allergy issues with my nose and my throat. No, everything is fine." And so I said, I thought, oh, well, what was the last remedy that I had given to him? And that was, I looked back into my notes, and I saw that this last remedy that he had received after having taken all the materia medica, he's had so many remedies before. And this was 3 days of Streptococcinum 200. And that was it for these 2 years. And he didn't complain of any more allergies. So this was at some point astonishing for me. And then I started using that old Streptococcinum in many, many, many more patients. And I saw many, many, many ameliorations. And I saw some came back with, they said, oh, well, it's mixed. My experience is mixed. Something is very positive, and I feel more relaxed, and I feel more at ease, and there's more positive thinking. But then also I became sick. I got a sore throat, and then I needed for 3 or 4 days to stay in bed, which is like acute crisis coming up after taking this remedy, which is also a good sign. But still, many people saw many dreams. They saw dreams of being shot, dreams of danger, dreams of big waves, threatening waves, existential fear dreams, being closed in a narrow place, not coming out, stuck at a lot of existential fear in the dreams. But you could see also resolution coming up in the dreams, that somehow there was a good outcome of the situation. They were shot, but nothing much happened, and everything was fine afterwards. So I could see that some development started. And I gave this old Streptococcinum to many, many, many of my patients at that time. And I started with a small amount, and then I started to increase. And then I started to give it also not to only one person, but to give it to the whole family, because the whole family is that when you have Streptococcus infection, it's not only you who gets it, it's like the whole system gets it. It's just like it's a problem for the whole family. Everybody has to take the antibiotics, not only the sick child. So, and with that, I also saw very good experiences that when many people in the system take the remedy, they are better. But
were you prescribing just the strep nosode, or
yeah, just the
constitution?
No, I wanted to know. It was just like research. I gave this just the strep nosode, and I repeated it. And then, of course, if there was some thing that didn't resolve, there's so many remedies that you can give. And of course, I have so many tools. I use all of these tools. Still, I use them. But at that point, I was very much in looking what happens if you repeat that remedy, if you increase the potencies. And then I could see, okay, they're going to some extent, but some physical issue is still there. It's not getting so much better. Some patients really dramatic amelioration, but for some, you had a feeling it's not going deep enough at some point. You have a feeling that's completely clearly the theme of that Streptococcus issue, but it's not. Which would be like swallowed down emotions, as I said, the swallowed down emotions that give you problems. But to some extent, this would not resolve in the system completely. It would not go or in the beginning it looked like, but then when you repeated the remedy, it was not going completely through. So I thought maybe we need to increase the potency. And then I increased potencies for some time, 200, and then I gave 1M. And then there was a phase when I gave straight away 10M from the beginning. And then there was a phase when I gave straight away 50M from the beginning. And then even I had so many patients, and I treated them with 100M from Helios. And I could still see very clearly what this remedy does also in these very, very high potencies. But to some extent, this something was still missing. It was not, it was just, and some even had a fear of taking that remedy anymore. They said, okay, I don't want to, in the beginning it was good, but somehow now I don't want to take it anymore. Or even some, after taking it 1 or 2 or 3 times, they said, no, this is too dangerous. I cannot take this anymore. I lose my balance. It feels, I see so many overwhelming dreams, but I don't know what to do with that in reality now. My life, my day-to-day life is somehow not helped by seeing all this insights on the spiritual level or on this mental sphere. So that's when I talked to John Morgan from Helios. I need to stop my phone. And I called him and asked him, he's the boss of Helios, and I asked him, could you please do because my idea was maybe it's not enough triturations in the beginning. I thought it was triturated to the 3rd potency. And I asked John, because I knew this is from my first teacher, Jürgen Becker, with whom I worked for a very long time. He did a lot of research in triturations of potencies, how you triturate, and what the trituration does, and the levels of trituration, what levels of consciousness are opened by which trituration. And these initial lactose triturations, that's what I'm talking about, from when the remedy is.
Yes, could you expand a little bit? So the old strep no sod, how is it prepared?
Yeah, I asked John. I had thought that it was triturated until 3rd potency, as it should be from Hahnemann. But many pharmacies, because this is a lot of work, you need for every step, you need 1 hour of really only that you need this needs to be done by hand, and you need to scratch, and you need to stir, and this is like a lot of work. So when somebody demands a new remedy, sometimes they say, okay, let's just straight away do liquid potentization. When there's some liquid, they say, well, why don't we just don't triturate, we just use straight away the liquid potentization. In fact, in that phone call, I found out, John found out, oh, I can see this is only liquid potentization, so there's no lactose trituration at all. Right. And from my what I have learned from Jürgen, I knew because he had worked with a pharmacist, a homeopathic pharmacist, who had this very clear insight that for very important remedies, you need 4 or even 5 triturations in the beginning to really resolve all the levels of consciousness, physical level, emotional level, mental level of being, and collective level. That would be like these 5 different levels. So I asked Jen, could you please look again for this same source of the remedy, the Streptococcus culture. Streptococcus is sterilized Streptococcus, lyophilized, so there's no danger, you cannot infect yourself from that remedy. And then he did these 5 triturations until 5 with lactose until C5, and only from then started again with liquid potentization.
Okay, so why C5? Why start with that?
Yeah, that is because I had worked in my office with the conventional potencies because this pharmacist that my teacher had worked with, he had done a lot of triturations. His name is Witold Erler. And he had done a lot of triturations and had, during triturating, had many insights and understood many things. And as far as I understand, he said that first level of trituration is just like for the physical level, and the second level of trituration opens more the emotional level, and the third level of trituration opens the mental sphere. But in our time, this was, and Hahnemann went until C3 potency with trituration. But in our time, he said that we should go to C4, because this is more on a level of just being. It's not only mental sphere, it's just even more than that. And for some remedies like no-sods, or really very important remedies that have a very big collective meaning, they should be done to C5. That was his insight. It's not my insight.
Right. Okay. Right. I see. So even nostrils like tuberculinum, for example, the kind of universal nostrils.
He would, and also some remedies. This was very intuitive. He did this trituration, and then he was ready with C4. And then at some point he understood, oh, it feels not complete. I need one more trituration, and he did a 5th trituration. And so they did a lot of triturating work and seeing what happens. And John Morgan from Helios, he knew Witold, he knew about his work and about his insights. So he was somehow open to say, okay, well, this is a lot of work, but I'm ready for you. I will do it. And he himself sat there and did this trituration until C5. And then I asked him also not only to go on with the normal potencies like 30C, 200C, 1M, 10M, but also to follow Witold's recommendations, he also had seen from his insight. And I've worked with these potencies that somehow they have a maximum of effect, not at 30C, what Hahnemann found out, but at 40C. And that this follows a formula. And he described this formula. Witold somehow got insight into this formula, and it's the formula of potencies of 6. When you go 6 times 6, so 6 times 6 is 36, and then plus 4 triturations with lactose would be 40C. And so this formula is 40C is 6 times 6.
Right.
Plus 4 is 40. And then the next one wouldn't be C200, but it would be 6 times 6 times 6 is 216, plus 4 triturations is 220. So, and then like that, he went on until 1.3M, C1300, which is 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, 1296 plus 4. And so I asked John, could you please, it's a little bit awkward, I know it's very odd numbers, but would you please, if you do this remedy again, could you do me the favor and do it in these potencies? Because I had worked with these potencies with all these other remedies, these conventional remedies, very, very long, for a long time, have a lot of confidence for them. They are available in a German pharmacy. So with these potencies, I had a lot of confidence. So I asked John, and so he was ready to do this. And so that's how this new remedy was created.
What's the highest potency you have prescribed so far?
The highest, so now we have this Streptococcus in the new version, which is Streptococcus pyogenes Tilch now. Because it couldn't be called Streptococcus pyogenes C5 because it's from C5, but it would be too much of a headache to understand why is there C5. And so he said, we take your name, that will make it easier. So it's now Streptococcus pyogenes Tilch. And we have the potencies 10C, we have 40C, we have 220C, we have 1.3M, which is 1300C. And then this is as far as Witold went with his hand potentizing. But then I just calculated even more steps. And so we have now the 7.78M, which would be like the 7,780C. And then we have one more step with one more times 6. And it's the 46,660. So 46.66 M. That's the highest existing potency so far. And this was a lot of work also for Helios, because for that potency, the machine had to run for around 4 days through. And so going to even higher potencies would be very, very interesting, but I'm not sure if this will be possible from a technical point of view. But it's possible that at some point there will also be the 279.94 M. 279,000.
I see that Helios has, after the 46.6 M, they go into the LM potency.
Yeah, it's not existing yet, but we
Yeah.
will see if it will exist at some point. But the 46.66 is a fantastic potency. I can tell you, I take it myself.
I'm using that for
You're
our
using
son,
it?
and because I started with him from the beginning, from the 10C, and nothing happened for a week. Then I went gradually up. When he got to the 1.3, he developed a very funny fever for one day. The school called me, oh, your son has got a fever, you need to come and pick him up. So I went to pick him up. He did have a fever. It was quite high fever, but he was fine. He was feeling absolutely fine. And that just lasted 24 hours. And after that, nothing, but I didn't notice anything else. So long story short, we got to the 46.6. We've been there for a couple of months now, and he takes it every day. Because I was just playing around with sentences, to be honest. I just wanted to say, and what I see in him is that he's so much calmer. And I have to say, for those who don't know, so my son has autism. Is almost 14 years old, and he's had, like you said, the whole materia medica thrown at him over the years. But he has improved incredibly. So he has a social life, he goes to school, but he still had emotional, and he still has to some extent emotional issues, so very kind of short temper, and a lot of insecurity, a lot of anxiety, and with this remedy, what I've noticed is definitely he is so much calmer. He has, my husband noticed, and the teachers as well, is more mature.
Yeah, that's what happens.
He takes criticism, okay, he takes, you know, or maybe you should be doing this, like this, not like that, and he's fine. He's really more, just his interaction is way calmer, and yeah, definitely there is a shift. He's doing much better. So he just started his second year high school, and he's doing much better. It's way calmer. So I'm just continuing. I have to say, I'm also giving him tanzanite, which is a remedy I just did the group proving for, and it's a new remedy. For the moment, it's only available from here in Scotland, from the Freeman's Pharmacy. Helios does not have it. But it's a wonderful remedy that chills. It brings you down. So for anybody who has ADHD or restlessness, and it really calms you down. So I find the combination, but tanzanite only 30C, that's the only potency that exists just now. But yes, I find that combination really good. But yes, the maturity is coming through, the openness, talking about his plans for the future, which never heard that before. So
that's what happens in, I have not given tanzanite to anybody so far, but it's a very interesting idea. So at some point I will go to Scotland and get it from your pharmacy.
I can send you some. I sent to our mutual friend Tina to try, and she did report. She took it for herself because anxiety and stress, and she said she feels so much calmer.
Good, very good.
Slept really well with tanzanite. It was amazing. So yeah.
So there are many good remedies on this planet, of course, and this is the Streptococcus. The new version is one of many beautiful remedies that we have. But at some point, I would say what it does in many people, what you see is that it because all of us, we have some trauma in us. It's just like and this is the way we function on this planet. Because what the Streptococcus is, maybe I tell you a little bit about this.
Yes, please.
It's that the Streptococcus is, as you said in the beginning, nobody wants to be in symbiosis with this germ. Yeah, it's just like nobody would say, okay, I'm volunteered. I want to take Streptococcus into my system. I will nourish it. I will take care of it. I will be, it can be here in my system. I'm really happy that it is there. Everybody is happy if he has some lactobacilla or something in his intestines, or some bifidobacteria. Everybody is happy. You want to have healthy germs in your system, but you don't. There's this one. Everybody doesn't want it. Also, of course, you don't want tuberculosis or so. But the tuberculosis is not so much spread anymore. It's not in our consciousness very much. But in every kindergarten, there's this, oh, somebody has Streptococcus, go away. Don't play with my son. I don't want that my son should get this, because there's this issue of danger. When this remedy can be dangerous, this germ, this bacteria can be dangerous. So you don't even look at it. Will it be harmful or not? You don't trust it from the beginning. You say, can be an enemy. I don't want to be with that at all. It just should stay out of my system. Go away. You are dirt. You are shit. You are nothing. Go away. I don't want to nourish you. That's the idea of the Streptococcus. So this is a bacteria who needs a host organism to survive. It cannot survive on its own. It's just it needs to be on some mucous membrane. Yeah. But it wants to also, it has certain things that are really necessary. It has to, there's one lady in Germany, she's called Ariane Zappe, and she has done also a lot of research on bacteria, and there are studies also they show that Streptococcus in the system are not only they are really necessary in our system. They have very important tasks to fulfill. She says, I don't know, I have not evaluated all this, but she says that there are studies that they prevent from, where Streptococcus is, there's no cancer, and where Streptococcus is, there's no mushroom, yeah, because you don't have fungus infections. So they help against fungus, and they help also against cancer. There are researchers that they have tried rats with bad, severe cancer, and they have done injections of Streptococcus, living Streptococcus into that tumor. And instead of now, this rat is going to die now, for sure. What happens is the cancer goes away and the rat survives. So they are not our enemies. They have really things that are important. And even if we have a bad strep infection, that happens at some point, usually when we are stuck in some anxiety issue, some swallowed down anger is there, something is there which is very, very bad in our system. We go to a new school, we are very anxious, and our father has scolded us very much, or our husband or somebody has been very harsh on us, and we have a lot of swallowed down emotion. And then what can happen is that we get sore throat, and that we get really bad tonsillitis and scarlatina, or really bad acute disease. And that acute disease has also a function, because what happens when you have that bad strep infection, with that high fever, and with that everybody's scared, parents are scared, and doctors are scared. What happens is a lot of attention to this child. Everybody's running around this child, and what the child receives in that moment, unconditional love. It's just like, I'm there, I do nothing, I have no idea, I've failed at school, and then my parents have said that I'm shit, but that I'm shit and that I'm not worth anything. But now, as I have 40 degrees of fever, they start taking care of me, and they take and I can feel that I'm important, and they will still let me in their system. So this strep infection somehow helps them to have a bonding experience, just like I can feel safe in your company, I can feel safe in this host organism. That's in fact the intent of the infection, that of every infection, you could say, of every disease, that at some point you want to have this experience of being welcome in the system, and unconditionally. And And that's what the Streptococcus infection is. It needs a host organism and wants to help the host organism to some extent. But from the beginning, you say, okay, you are dangerous, you are an enemy, I don't trust you, you should go away, and you judge it as bad. Yeah, and this judging something as bad, it should go away. That is the issue of the Streptococcinum noso. And so when you give that remedy, all this judgment, all these things that you have judged first as this should not happen, this disease should go away. And then when you give the Streptococcinum, what happens is that this you don't see the disease so much as an enemy anymore. You see, okay, I'm sick. Well, and I can just more relax into being sick, and I have less fear of existential betrayal or existential dying or something. I can more trust into being sick, and I can even enjoy having some more time sick in bed, and that somebody's coming and taking care of me. And that is how development occurs, because then you start trusting into your system that you are welcome. And as you feel welcome, you start expanding, and you start being trusting, and you start showing that you are what lives in you. It's just like you could say before something is frozen in trauma and in anxiety, that I'm a bad parasite, I'm not wanted, I'm judged as bad, or I have this insecurity, maybe I'm not good as I should be. And I need to adapt to the system, because I need in the system to survive somehow. I need to fulfill their needs. I need to swallow down my emotions. When I feel like very, very angry against my dad, I should swallow it down, because if I speak it out, it will aggravate my situation. He will take away even more resources, will not give me any more money, will shut me in my room. I'm not allowed to play with my friends. So it's better to swallow down my emotions. And that's the Streptococcinum issue. That's when you get the disease, and that's when you when the remedy is when the Streptococcinum nosode is indicated.
So what's the difference that you have seen between using the old strep nosode and the new one?
Yeah, the new one is much more balanced, you could say, because as these 5 triturations are missing in the old one, this is like when you have this is like going into the earth. It's just like this lactose trituration is solid qualities, is solid earth. It's not the liquid potentization is more like etherical. It's just like more alcohol and water. It's just like clouds and spirit going up. It's more a spiritual opening. But these 5 triturations, they do a lot more stabilization into the earth. So you really get more trust into the earth, and it goes more deep into the tissue of the body also. It's just like a washing liquid that you need for washing your clothes. The old Streptococcinum would, to some extent, take away the spots, that the dirt that needs to be I don't know how you call the word in English, some
dirt
that you want to get away, but still some shadow would remain. It wouldn't go to the deepest level of that tissue. Under the microscope, still you can see there's still dirt left. And with that C5 triturated, it goes even deeper into the very solid system of the cells of the system, and you see much more profound healings, especially when you have these C5 triturations and then these higher potencies. And when you repeat them quite often, when you give them also to the rest of your system, or to your husband, and to your daughter, and to your son, and to your mother, and to your father, and to your grandchildren, as many as possible. And when you just use it very, very generally, then you will see a lot of relaxing, a lot of more. Everybody is much more with himself, not so much tense with anxiety. Will I be? How must I be in order to survive in the system? I don't want to be seen as a Streptococcus, or you don't want to be seen as a Streptococcus, but you see the other one in your system as a Streptococcus. So you should change your behavior, because if you change don't you change your behavior, I feel very much threatened. And it's, if you are say nasty things to our neighbor, he will not look at us again. So you should be a very nice boy and not a rebellious boy and not saying nasty things. And so all these anxiety issues, all this will subside, and you will have a lot better atmosphere in the family system. and things start to flower, and a lot of very good development happens. But
yes, that I have noticed, because I was taking the strepnosode as well, and I gave it to my daughter. My husband is very erratic with the remedies. He says yes, but then, you know, oh, but I need coffee. Oh, but I'm eating now. Oh, but there's always something. So, and then I stopped taking it because I was involved in group provings. But I noticed that because my son is so much more calm and chilled, everybody else is. My daughter developed a sore throat. And she came down with, and she was always, when she was little, so I thought it was almost like a return of all symptoms. When she was little, she used to have a lot of sore throats, and almost like respiratory, it was almost like asthma, but not quite. So unfortunately, when she was little, she did get a lot of antibiotics, because I did not know any better. And so yes, so that had an effect on her that way. It had an effect on me physically more than emotionally. I started to get, and I wonder if this is just a coincidence or if it anything to do with the remedy, but I started to get pain in my toes, in my joints, in my one foot in particular, and I'd never had that before. And that was annoying, but but I remember my mother used to suffer from terrible pain in her feet, and there was nothing wrong with her feet. But she really suffered, and since she was a child, by the way, it wasn't something that, you know, came with old age, and she tried everything. And so I wonder, is that something that maybe generationally
for sure, these joint issues, they are very much connected to the streptococcinum also. And what happens in the course of when you take the remedy, something that can happen is just like you get a sore throat, you could even get a strep infection, but you could also have any other acute infection coming up, which tells you, okay, now you need to take a rest. It's just like your traffic light is red, you should stop. It's time to stop. It's time to change your position from doing to lying and taking a rest, and to feeling what needs to be felt, because it's always about feelings. It's always about swallowed down feelings. So when your daughter receives that remedy and she has an infection, what happens? She goes to a state of, oh, I'm sick, I need some, my traffic light is red, I cannot go to school, and I'm there. And then feelings come up from some childhood, some former trauma, whatever. And then maybe at some point she says, Mom, I need, please bring me some water, please do me this, please do me that, please cook me some food. I cannot function anymore. And what she does, and if you take the remedy also, then you will be very enjoying this taking care of your daughter and being there for her. And then that's what happens in many people. And this bonding can take place in a very, very beautiful way. And then at some point there will be a moment where she says, oh my God, I'm so sad. I can, and then all of a sudden she will start weeping, and you will just hold her and hug her and be with her for some time. And then after weeping out these tears, that will take for some time. But then all of a sudden, when this has come out, Or it could also be just like shouting. A lot of anger could come out, that she could be very aggressive, very irritated, very nervous, and could shout and all that. And then after that, having shouted out all that anger, then the tears will come at some point. And then this unconditional love can happen. And all this has come out. And when this has come out, the whole development will go in a very, very, very beautiful direction. And then you just continue with the remedy for the daughter and for yourself, and you will see a lot of very amazing things happening in regarding the spirit of your daughter. She will be much more adventurous, much more daring, much more talking, much more daring to express herself, be truly herself, say no when she doesn't mean yes, and say yes where she before was anxious to say yes. So she will be much more clear, and you will see big development in your system. And same thing is when you have this issue with your toes, or when you could also have like an accident could also happen at some point, that you have a ankle is how do you call it? I don't know.
Yes, I broke my wrist in the summer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that you have to be careful, because everybody thinks, well, I will not take this remedy because I will break my wrist. but that's what happens. This breaking wrist, or this is what is necessary to show you a red light. Yeah, this is like, just like you need to at some point. That's why it is important that we talk about this. Yeah, because when you take the strepnosode and you just try to continue your life as you have always lived it, and you just are working, doing, taking care of children, you don't take care of your own inner Giovanna so much, then at some point she will say, okay, now this is the moment where I can trust that it will be safe to have either a throat infection, that I will have very good experience with my mother when the throat infection is there, or it is a good moment to break, to have a little injury or something, and that will take me out of my doing mode for some time, and I will be in the being mode for more time. And in this being mode, I will have feelings, and I will have more rest, and I will certain things from my patterns, from my grandfathers and from my grandfathers, grandmothers, they will come into my consciousness, and I will have, and it will just, some repairing will happen even without that I do anything. This is just like, this is happening in sleep, this is happening in this disease state. And you just continue with that remedy, and you just take enough time for yourself, and you stay at home, and you follow what your body tells you, and then this wrist will heal at some point, and then again, and then it will be better, and it will function as before. Usually, it will not be something that happens and you will be worse than before. It will be something that takes you out for some time. And this is necessary to repair your operating system. It's just like sometimes you need to go to operation to the clinic because something needs to be taken out, some gallbladder needs to be taken out, whatever. And this, for that time, you need this rest, that your light is red. And for that, sometimes this is needed. And for repairing your operating system, you need these red light phases.
Yes, that makes complete sense, because in general, homeopathy, the right remedy will force you almost to face up to what you need to do. And if you're doing the wrong thing, you're in the wrong job, you're in the wrong relationship, you're doing something, it will force you. And sometimes it's not comfortable, it's actually quite uncomfortable, but that absolutely resonates. So it sounds like this remedy goes really, really deep into existential issues, and almost into generational issues, because what you said really resonated with me, because I work with other therapists for myself, and what often comes up in the session is that the therapist says to me, you're working too hard, you're trying too hard, you don't need to do that. You need to let go of certain things. You need to let things flow, and things will happen, because if you try too hard, you create resistance, you create frustration, because things are not happening fast enough.
Yeah, that's
Usually
it.
my problem. Things are not happening fast enough. They're not happening in the right way, and I want more of this and more of that, and that creates resistance. And also, you know, the theory that there are no accidents. And so, yes, I broke my wrist, and I had to slow down, and I had to stop and maybe reflect, and really that's my issue. Yes, letting go and stop trying too hard. And this is another message, and it's coming to me from all angles, so I need to start listening.
Yeah, so you should start again with the 46.66.
I think so. I definitely, now I'm out of the proving section, so I can start taking it again for sure.
I also broke my clavicule 3 weeks after starting with the 46.66.
Wow. Okay, guys, everybody.
But I can say was I just really didn't want this. I thought this, oh my God, what has happened here? This is what is going wrong with me. But then I needed to be operated. First, I was not operated. It was for some months. They said, okay, we can just leave it like this. But it was not healing well, because somehow they were not really in good contact and right angle. And I was still moving too much, doing too much. And then at some point again, I fell on the same shoulder, and then it was, even after 4 months, even worse than before. And so then finally I got operated, and I always resisted. I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to be operated here. And then I have a scar here, and then I cannot carry my backpack. And then when I go to the mountains, I will have problems, and what could happen. And then finally, 2 days later, I was operated, and it was a fantastic experience. And I had a very good operator in the university clinic here, and I was just so happy, and it is healing so well now, and now I can do everything again, and soon the metal will be taken out again. So this was just like a most wonderful experience. This also this time that I had, I could be more relaxed. I couldn't. I think we have the same issue, the same themes. This, you must work hard. It should go faster. It should happen the way in this way, and all this calms down, and you get.
And underlying that is the feeling of not deserving. Unless I work really, really hard, I don't deserve what I have.
Yes.
And that's the guilt and the shame. So I have to work myself to the bone. Otherwise,
that's
I cannot be happy.
Yeah, that's because you feel you don't deserve. Then you need to experience unconditional love, where you don't deserve it somehow, but it's still there. Everybody's taking care of you, and I had so beautiful, amazing treatments, osteopathic treatments for this shoulder. It was just like amazing, so much love coming to me. And then when with higher potencies, it's just like opening up your own system for this, so much love to go into you. It's just like, without Streptococcus, it's just like even I don't let go too directly into my heart. My heart is somehow blocked. It's somehow, I need to work hard. I need to fulfill conditions for others. I need to swallow down emotions. I need to have a very strong shield around my heart. It shouldn't be too sensitive. It should be, I need to be strong inside myself. And I have guilt, and all these issues are there. And all this is, when you take this remedy for a longer time and you go through these acutes, is going to dissolve even more and even more.
Yes, this is really profound. And this is why this remedy must be taken by the whole family. And particularly I'm thinking about, because I treat a lot of children with autism, ADHD, PANS, PANDAS, and I always treat at least the mother as well at the same time. And sometimes I really have to insist, because the mother is always the one, no, my child is the priority, he needs more than me. And I'm like, you can't function unless you are healthy. So So I was doing that already, but this remedy really, really speaks to the carer who is like, no, don't worry about me. I need to be strong at all times. And I don't even deserve to be looked after because I have this task I must think about, and the sense of guilt that comes with it all the time. You know, every time you do something for yourself, you feel guilty because you need to think about your child. So this is really, really, this is the perfect remedy for that.
Yes. Yeah, it's even more important to give the remedy only to the mother and not at all to the child. If you have a choice, you give it only to the mother. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, yes, in some cases, you can tell from the first visit that the mother is the one who is incredibly stressed out and she needs help first, and then the child. And sometimes it's a difficult conversation, you know, from my point of view as a homeopath. But I have to say it, and then, you know, it's like, okay, take it or leave it, but you need help, lady.
But it's like, you know, it's always the whole system. Even sometimes you see a very stressed mother, then it's very, very clear. But sometimes the mother is very nice, very caring, very charming, very beautiful. You think, okay, she's doing her sports, she's doing everything so nicely, and you don't feel she has a problem. But still, the child is sick and she still is falling sick again, or has some emotional issues or some behavior issues or whatever. Very nice mother, but very difficult child. All these, if it has autism or if it, whatever it has. But you have these, this is like yin and yang balance. And you have sometimes a very bad yang energy, rebellious child, very destroying things, being careless and abusive and things like that, and a very charming, very nice mother, very social mother, very antisocial child, very social mother. This is, both of that is sides of the Streptococcus, because the Streptococcus can be very aggressive in your throat, but it can also be very nice and charming and do not any harm. It's just because you don't want to be seen as a parasite in the system, you start swallowing down everything that you can, and you appear to be very nice. So to such an extent that you are so nice that all your inner hatred, your inner yang energy, your inner anger, your inner egotism, all this, your inner antisocial side needs to go somewhere. So where does it go? It goes either into your own system. You are a very, very nice and charming person, but you have a very bad throat pain, or very, very much stitching, or very bad knee pain, or very bad destructive thing happening in some part of your body, which is just like the disowned yang energy inside your own system. Or the disowned energy can be in your surroundings somewhere. You will always, these very, very nice and charming persons will always have somewhere in their system, in their family or in their job or wherever, there will be some person where they say, this kind of person, he is really bad, he's so aggressive. Or even in politics, or this politician, he shouldn't be like that. The way they behave is just like so nasty, so destructive yang energy. So this is like disowned yang energy in your own inside. It's just like I'm not like this. I'm very nice and charming, but this boy over there is the problem. You should treat him. You should repair him. He should be nice and charming like me. But this is not working. If you want the boy to change, you need to be more nasty. You need to be more. Take more of your yang energy inside yourself. The charming mother, the very, very nice mother, should at some point start saying no, and at some point being very clear, and some point taking and not caring so much. Yeah, and to some point to find a good balance between caring and not caring, and being egotistic or being altruistic. This is just like the balance that needs to be found. And the Streptococcus in the potentized form helps us, the whole system, to find a very good balance in that.
Yes, that is also very true. And still thinking about cases of children with PANS and PANDAS, and particularly PANS and PANDAS, that they usually are triggered by strep infection. but not always. But also these children who are very complex, they also come with very often things like mycotoxins, fungal infections and candida and parasites. And you mentioned earlier that they were doing these studies, and when strep is there, the mycotoxins go away. So would that be, would this remedy also resolve other infections, other issues?
It would create what happens in these. I don't personally, I don't have many cases of PANS or PANDAS, because this syndrome is somehow not known very much in Germany. I have autists, but it's not named as PANS or PANDAS here in Germany. But what usually happens is that at some point, some because they have received a lot of antibiotics in the past, and then at some point some infections will start coming out again, and when they have another strep infection of the throat, it would be very good to give that remedy again, and just to let the Streptococcus live, and just try to tell them to enable them to overcome the infection without taking antibiotics. And that is very easily possible normally. Yeah, you can, if you give that remedy in higher potency, 7.78 m in an acute crisis repeatedly 5, 6, 7 times a day, and the caretakers also take it, and when you stay very calm and you have a good and then you look what is needed for, and you are there with the child, and you just be there, and you just give him that love and that attention. And you also need to be safe. You need to have an antibiotic maybe on the table, and to see, okay, when it's really bad, I can still give it. You need to feel safe. But then that remedy helps you to feel safe. And after some time, that strep infection is subsiding, and from that point, that child will somehow have resolved this. How am I going to live with Streptococcus? And then all these fungal things also might go away, and you will see more development and more flourishing and more opening up, and things happening in a very good way. It's just like the system will come to life, and it will in a positive way and not in a negative way. You will not be constantly thinking negative issues, some enemy should go away, because there will be no more enemies. Just like everything that seemed to be an enemy is now only a friend that you didn't recognize as a friend before. Yeah. And then your whole life changes.
Right. That's also very interesting, because it can potentially change completely the way that I personally work with these issues, because particularly with complex children, there is a lot of emphasis on detoxing, because obviously the detoxing pathways are impaired congenitally. And so they do accumulate a lot of toxins that come from all sorts of sources. And so very often the first thing is, let's take all the junk out of the system, let's detox, and then let's look at support. So in terms of case management, how do you work with the strep? So do you only use that, or do you also have supporting remedies around it? What do you do with aggravations?
Well, for this detoxing, I would say that it's very useful to get toxins out of the body. But as far as I understand, when you give that no-so, this detoxification process will start very, very automatically, and you will get rid of many toxins only by taking the streptococcinum. But of course, there could be issues where you have a feeling that somehow the liver should be supported, or that the kidneys should be supported. You could give teas or plant remedies to support the liver, or to support the skin, or to support the lymphatic tissues or something. some colleagues are doing this, and they say it's useful to, if you give us no-salt, that you combine it with some detoxing remedies also. Personally, in my office, I'm very much I try to see what happens when you don't mix it too much with other things, because when you mix it, I will not understand what the remedy can do. And in my office, I can see that when you have aggravations, that you give that remedy. As you asked me, well, how can you start? When you are very anxious, like your patients who are very anxious, who say, I don't want to take that remedy maybe, or I mean, this is too scary, then you would start with a very low potency and not give it too often, but you just see what happens. And when they feel safe, when you are very, very scared of taking the remedy, you could start with low potencies, 10C, 40C, for some time. When you feel safe, you could repeat it more often, take it daily, because when you take it more repeatedly, the whole melting process, the becoming alive process will be better. It's just like when you have a very stiff joint, and then you do one session of therapy, physiotherapy, and then again you do one more after 4 weeks. It will take a long time before your joint is fine again. It's like you need, for that remedy, I think I have very good experience with frequent repetitions. And that you could repeat it more often, and when you feel more safe, you could go to 220C. That is a potency that I don't use usually for a very long time, because it's somehow an in-between potency. It's like you could have rebellious issues coming out, but it's just like puberty a little bit. That potency brings you into a puberty state, which is also very alive. But finally, you don't want to be stuck in puberty for a long time. Yeah. You want to go through puberty, and you go to a more adult, and that would be 1.3 M, and then 7.78 M is very good potency also for many people are very well with the 7.78. But and also do this repeatedly, and also give it to the whole system. And for your children who are not that bad in a stuck state, for them it's maybe fine to give it only once a week, or twice a week, or once every 2 weeks. But it's good to repeat it from time to time. It's just like because it will help you to be truly yourself, and not too much to be stuck in negative thought patterns and judging yourself, judging others, judging your symptoms, worrying and being ashamed, and all these things. This will come back after some time to some extent, because it's so much in the system, in our heritage. When you leave away the remedy, it will be very good for quite some time, but the old patterns at some point will come back to be more again. Life will become more difficult again at some point. And so it's good to repeat that remedy, and also I'm very much interested in these higher potencies, because I somehow I try to understand what's happening with your consciousness. So but not everybody has to do that. You can stay on level that you like. You can stay on a very low level with 40C, or you could go to 1.3 M and stay there for like years, no problem. There's no need to increase the potency. But when you increase the potency, you will see even deeper issues. You will have deeper insights in swallowed down things that are still there from your childhood, and you take a higher potency, and you will feel some anxiety as a small child again, and it will resolve even more deep-rooted, swallowed down traumas in your system. So I can recommend to do this journey and to continue with higher potencies. And I'm going to, we didn't talk about that work, but we have created a German video course on the streptococcinum, and we're still ameliorating it, and soon it will be translated also into English, and then we will have even more information for everybody to understand how to work with that remedy.
Yes, that's important. So there will be a course, an online course in English before the end of the year. So that will be, so if anybody is interested, they can contact yourself, your website. What's your website?
Yeah, we have that website. We have created a English website. It's called www.streptococcus-tilch.com. And you could spell it with 3 Ks or you could spell it with 3 Cs. It's the same, but the original site is spelled with 3 Ks, like you write it in German, but you can spell it with C also. You will go there, and there is a you can register, and then you can register for our newsletter. We will not spam you with newsletters. It's only to inform you when the course is available or when anything new comes up. And because I've also written a book in German, a very nice book, but it's for English-speaking people. There's no translation so far. So the only possibility to really understand that remedy is that website that I've created. There are 2 videos, one with Sarah Valentini from Australia. She will come this afternoon. This will be the day when she comes to Freiburg. We will meet again for the first time in person. Yeah, in around 4 hours, I will be with Sarah from Australia, from Melbourne. And there's this video with her. It is around 2 hours or little also insights into that remedy. And then there's another video that was translated into English, which was recorded in February, I think. And so you can watch these videos for free, and then you will be informed when the course is ready and when you sign in for the newsletter. Many people already have signed in, but the more people you could find to sign into that list, that would help to spread the wisdom about the potential of this remedy to as many people as possible.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And the last question that people are asking me to ask you. You talk about this remedy as a joker remedy. What do you mean by that?
Well, as you know, I've for so many years, decades, I've worked with very individual remedies. I've looked for every person in what is his individual constitutional remedy. That's the way we work as homeopaths. Yeah? And we think every person has its own individual way of adapting to the system that he lives in, yeah, because there's like a podium way of adapting. Just I need to show that I'm really a strong man, and that everybody has that I have a good appearance, and that I look good, and that people think that I'm really someone important. And Nature Muir would say, okay, I need to adjust by swallowing down my emotions. I need to swallow down my tears, and that's the way I adjust. And every remedy, every constitutional remedy has some way of adjusting, just a way of functioning, I need an operating system, some judging what is good, what is bad for me, and this is good, this is bad. So we have many ways, like very individual ways of functioning. It's just strategies, survival strategies, you could say. So we have millions of survival strategies, and all this. When you find a beautiful remedy for this particular survival strategy, like a podium, or like Nature Muir, or like silica, or like whatever, this will work wonders in this specific survival strategy. This is like a very special key for this strategy. And it will help for that person to the extent that is possible. And so all these remedies work beautifully, but it's a huge lot of work, because you need so many different keys, because there are so many people around, and then you have animals, and then you just to understand what remedy needs this animal is just like incredible. Cannot even talk. and then And so all this works, but it's a lot of work. It's huge work to find out these individual constitutional remedies. We all know this. I've done this for so many years. And this Streptococcinum is like one level. There's also it also works on the with the law of similars. It's a similarity, but it's not an individual similarity. It's a like you could say super individual similarity. It's just like it's a similarity to our species. It's less to the operating system of our species, which says I need a survival strategy. I'm here on this planet and it's dangerous, and I need a survival strategy. And which survival strategy you take is very individual. But the fact that I need any survival strategy, that is Streptococcus. It's just like the feeling I'm threatened as I am, and I need a survival strategy. Which one do I take? And it's even one level before that. It's like a general key for all these polycrests that you have. So even sulfur, you see many sulfur cases, but you see by millions more Streptococcus cases. It's just like sulfur is a very, very small remedy compared to Streptococcinum. Very, very tiny.
So it's a new polycrest. That's huge. And do you think it's its own miasm?
It's a miasm. It's our human mind miasm, and also for animals. It works well, very good for cows. It works for hen. It works for chicken. It works for dogs. It works for cats. And just like any condition where you are where you see your animal in some crisis, you give that remedy for some time, and it will help to get it out of that crisis. When you are taking care of a sick dog, or of a dog with anxiety issues, with traumatic issues, you give higher potencies, and this dog will calm down. Just like because it helps the animal part in us also. It's just like our animal. The animal inside is somehow healed. And this is very universal. It's just, and of course, when there are issues that you don't see much amelioration, maybe something is left where you need other remedies, but you can use it as a joker remedy in practice. Everybody who walks into your office, you can give this remedy, and to his family straight away also, even if you haven't seen the family.
That's really brilliant. So I started only 2-3 months ago working with this remedy after taking your course. And I am already starting to see positive results. So I am very, very hopeful. I'm going gradually with potency, starting from the bottom and gradually working my way up. But I do see already positive results. And also on a personal level, because my son is on the highest potency. And I can see that he is working well with this potency. I haven't seen any aggravations, apart from the one that I mentioned, the 1.3 m, which was just a 24-hour fever, but it was really nothing to worry about. The other potencies, I didn't see anything, either good or bad. So it was just a matter of finding the right frequency match.
It's also because sometimes you don't, because you are operated on yourself. So you cannot, when my computer in front of me will not notice that somebody is changing something in his operating system. It's difficult to be aware of what is happening because it's so subtle, and it's just happening while you are somehow your blind spot is not aware of what is happening. Something is going away and you're not even aware of it. You feel like, oh well, in fact, oh yeah, there was this issue, but no, as you talk about it, no, that's not there anymore. My bladder used to worry me a lot. I didn't even think of it, but as you say it, since 6 months my bladder was okay, but before you would have said I've noticed nothing. And so you have these things that go away. It's just you are more yourself. You're just more daring to be yourself. You just like to, you are more nice to yourself, taking care of your things. This is like very natural. You feel like this is me, and you wouldn't feel, oh, this is the remedy who has done something. It's just it only has taken away some negative parts that are disturbing your mind all the time, or your body all the time, and you're not. It's just like a sunny day in your system, and you wouldn't say, oh, the sun is shining, but you think this is normal. This is just like natural, yeah. And so
it's true, and also I am too close, because it is my son, and the changes were very subtle, and so that is definitely, because that's absolutely true, because I can see the difference, and I can see more differences with my patients, because I am not so close, I'm not as close, and I'm using much lower potencies at the moment. So yes, there is definitely that needs to be taken into account, but yes, but it is working well. So I am really, really hopeful, and I think we need to, and that's also why I'm doing this, because I feel that we need to spread, more people need to use it, because the more we use it, the more we learn about what this remedy can do. And if it can help more and more people, that's beautiful. That's just absolutely.
And it's sometimes, you know, for understanding, for, you know, on the long term, because sometimes therapists start with it and they see something good happening, like you said now, and then there's some crisis happening or something is going on, and then you think, oh my God, I'm giving this remedy and some acute crisis is coming up. So as a homeopath, I think, okay, I need to, so this is should not be there, crisis should not be there. So we need some other remedy for that crisis, and maybe at some later point I can give that remedy again. But this is just like losing the track, because that crisis is in fact a sign, or a good sign. Yeah, it's just like the sign that this organism now is ready to trust that it's a good time to go into the horizontal plane and to have a bonding experience, and to have this experience that it's fine, it's okay to be out of the functioning mode, and to be for some time in this mode of just being with yourself and feeling things that need to be felt, and then being repaired just by not doing something. And that's what we need as therapists. That's what any therapist who sees this video, please, that's your main thing that you should do in such a case, is just be there and just tell this person, okay, you stay out of the system. There's no need to hurry. You can take time. You can stay at home for 1 week. You can stay at home for 2 weeks. You can stay at home for 4 weeks. You can stay at home for half a year. When it's really such a bad, you don't know what to do. You just be with that. I'm not functioning at all. And that's just like a newborn baby who is in a crisis and is there in this childbed. And it's just like needs to be there in the childbed and to be nourished just like a baby. And then all of a sudden, from some time, it needs only time. And then all of a sudden you will see development, and you're standing up and you're doing things, and you will be a different person. That's what is needed. So you need to encourage people to take time for themselves and to be with that acute, and to encourage them to take the remedy again, and to give it to the caretakers also, and to everybody around, and to trust into that process. That's the main issue. Give them trust, because it's in the end, it's about trust. You need to trust life, to trust that everything that happens in life is for you and not against you. That acute crisis is for you and not against you. That broken wrist is for you. That broken clavicle is for me. Yeah, it's not because it shouldn't be there. Something has lost track. It is there because it is needed. And the Streptococcinum helps you to accept, okay, so this is the lesson I'm going to go through now, and I'm going to be with that for some time. And then at some point, this lesson will open up, and you will understand what it's about, and you will be a different person.
Yes, that's absolutely true. So accidents are not punishments. They are wake-up calls. They are there to teach us something. So, but and I believe that homeopathy tells us that. Sometimes, like I say, it's not the most comfortable process, but it is a process. It has to be done.
Yeah, sometimes it's not comfortable. And when you think, and also I see patients when they come in acute crisis, sometimes it's a struggle with them. When I also see patients with 46.66 still in an acute crisis and with their family, and it's so difficult and I don't know what to do. And then what is needed? Okay, we need some place where you can go, and we found that hospital, and you go there. And she goes for 4 weeks out of her system to that hospital, and over there she's treated, and the bonding experience happens at the hospital. That's what happened with my clavicule also. My healing happened in the hospital. So it cannot happen in the system where you're still stuck and where you're still full of tensions. So sometimes you need to go to some other place, and you need to encourage people to go to that place where you can heal and where you can truly heal. And this is, for that, as homeopaths, we need to open up our minds and to not to think we have done something wrong, we have given the wrong remedy. We have to just follow that track and to support that person, and that it goes into a direction where healing can happen. And that is not necessarily only lying in bed and understanding. Sometimes it's really about changing something and going to some other place and opening for new experiences.
Yes, that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
So the online course in English that's going to be ready by the end of this year, is that going to be for homeopaths or student of homeopathy only, or also for anybody who is interested in working with this remedy?
No, our course is made for everybody. It's just like for home users, because therapists, as I love therapists. I'm a therapist myself. I have so many nice colleagues. They are wonderful therapists. But there, at some point, it's so difficult. I've made this experience so difficult to get through with my message that there's beyond this individual homeopathy, there's something else that is worth trying it. And with these frequent repetitions and with collective treatment and all this is for therapists quite difficult to understand. And it's some resistance is there in many of them, not in all of them, but some of them say, okay, it cannot be like this is impossible. But so I thought, when I do a course only for therapists, it will be too long, and it's very easy for home users to use that remedy themselves once they have understood. So the course we have done is for home users, but it's also for therapists, and we will do one more chapter, especially for therapists now in the German course, which will be translated in the English also. But therapists because before they start using it on others, they should start their own experience with their own self, and go through the whole process as if they were not a therapist. Because being a therapist is also one way of one survival strategy that you could say. I need to be the therapist who knows how this is going to solve. And sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's just only trusting into what life creates, and to even being not completely sure what's going to happen now, and to leave this track of security is for therapists also adventurous. And so it's good to take this remedy. It will help you as a therapist very much. And but in order to understand this, it's very good to follow this course.
Fantastic. So tell us again how people can reach you and wait for, until the course is ready.
Yeah, they can reach us, me on www.streptococcinum with 3K or with 3 C's, whatever you want to spell it. Maybe you can write it under your video, and Streptococcinum -tilch, tilch.com. And there you can sign into this newsletter, and then you will receive a newsletter when the new English course is there, and also you will be able to see 2 more videos that are there. Just let me check if it's right spelled. Where is it?
Right.
I don't know, not sure. I need to look. Is it still there?
Yeah.
I cannot see it.
Oh.
It's in the chat.
Yes, it's in the chat.
Sorry, I need to look. Chat. Chat for should sagen. Somehow I cannot see it. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a specialist for Streptococcinum, but not for Zoom.
Okay, I will be sure to put it in writing and put a link underneath. It's this is going to go in my YouTube channel, so there will be a link under the video. My YouTube channel is the Academy of Evolutionary Homeopathy, and it will also go on Facebook, so there will be all the links there soon. So thank you very, very much, Dr. Tilch. It was really, really a pleasure to meet you in person, and yeah, it was great. This has been a great talk.
Thank you so much, Giovanna. It was so nice that you are just helping me to spread the word about these possibilities that we have with that remedy. I think it could create really, when we go through these processes, we will have much more peace on this planet. Our systems will function much more better. We will have much more happy families and much more development in a very positive way. So it's really worth going through this process of getting out all this rubbish out of your system from your ancestors, from your previous treatments, from your antibiotics, from whatever has happened to your system, all these toxins on the physical level and also on the mental level. This will also be helped to a great extent to get that out of your system. And it's really worth looking at this again and just so it can leave. It's not even like pushing it out. It is just like you look at it and it will transform. It will dissolve. It's just like a very automatic process. Not very much has to be done. It's just only has to be somehow you're your own spectator and you go through something, but it's not very difficult. It's just very automatic. So trust in this process, please, and I would be very, very happy if you join this English course. It will be a lot of work for us to do this in English, but we will do our best, and we hope that you can benefit from that. And at some point, we will also do a live event in maybe spring next year, so that everybody who has visited that course can also, we will do a live talk and questions can be asked. And so we are going to bring this into the world as well as we can.
Thank you very much. So thank you everybody for listening.
Yes. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Giovanna.